Hey guys, just bought this a couple weeks ago. Just bought this Stihl chainsaw. It's a 015L lumbing saw. Got a really good price on it, so couldn't pass it up. It's a top handle, which I haven't done a top handle before. I've kind of redone a few Stihls, but mostly like rear handle, firewood kind of cutting saws. So I really saw this one for a good price and had to have it because I've never really messed around with these. So fortunately the recoil is not working, and hopefully the spring's not broke, because that was pretty common I think on these, but I haven't taken it apart yet, so we'll get into that and see what's going on with that. And according to the last owner, it needs probably a carb clean, but we'll kind of get there when we get there. So not bad, little 12-inch bar. These were, I believe, between 1973 and 1983, but the L's with the top handle with this color kind of variant, and the logo, the Stihl logo without the angled letters and with the wood slice, was pre-77, I believe. So somewhere between 73 and 77 this one was. So it's pretty complete. That's not seized up, so hopefully we just have stuck recoil. Hopefully it's not broken. It's all complete, so let's get into it. So this is kind of a new work area. Obviously we do mostly woodworking, but I wanted kind of a machine working area kind of to fill the time in between woodworking. So this is going to be my small engine fixing and sort of stuff like that. So kind of away from the wood shop. So, and we get the heat going, so hopefully that doesn't kind of drown us out. It's pretty cold here still, so let's get into this. I haven't worked on these, so I'm still kind of new as to, just kind of looking at it before, the recoil cover isn't completely separate like most of the Stihls. So we'll just kind of start pulling some stuff off and see if we can get to this first. We'll address that, but I want to kind of break it down completely anyway, just to get it cleaned up, get it into a nice working condition. It's a nice little saw. So these were kind of homeowner saws when they first came out. So a real basic air filter, nothing fancy. Doesn't really give you much access to the recoil, so it looks like this whole cover goes up over the handle. So I think we're going to have to take off a lot of the front portion, the chain cover in the back. So it's going to be a lot of disassembling, I think, just to get to that recoil. I mean, maybe it's not. I haven't really looked online to see how they're put together, so. But like I said, I want to kind of take it all apart anyway, so. No cracks in the case, which is good. doesn't look original. Brass screw. No. That's all right. There's the key. No chain brake on these, just kind of like a spring hand guard. I think some of the later model AVs had them. It does have gas in it. Check that. It smells pretty ripe, so that'll get drained. I don't know how long. Like you said, it ran last year, but this year he went to start it up and it pulled the cord and didn't go back in. So hopefully the spring is not broke, because that kind of stinks. There's some screws in here, and all this sap. You can talk. I'm not gonna. Bar looks pretty good. Chain looks pretty roached, but we'll clean that up. There's no fuel, so not sure where that's emanating from, but well, here comes the bar oil. Well, that's where it's coming from. Apparently this whole thing is maybe a 2-chamber oil and fuel. Well, hopefully there wasn't too much in it. There's another screw. That's the adjuster. Take that out. It's kind of an odd design. Yeah, that's unique. So it's like a 2-chamber bar oil and fuel on that side. A little small tank. Let's see if we can pull that gasket off without completely destroying it. So I can't imagine it's going to be easy to find. But I may just kind of leave it in place. I think I'm going to leave it. These lines are all stiff. Filter. Doesn't look too bad. Might as well dump it all out now. Alright. Let's see if we can get this. We could have left that. That's right. Let's take the spark plug out. looks pretty good. Honestly, a little surprised. Let's see. Let's hold me back here. Is that something. All right. It's gonna be the craziest design. Usually it's like this cover splits. Let's see, right here, and you just pull the cover off. Well, it's like half the saw. I'll use it with this. So a lot of these, they were saying that depending on the year, they either came with an electronic ignition or points. This is probably later, from 73 to 77. It's probably closer to 77 with the coil on there. Those look good. Turns over. Oof. It's a little rough, but I think that's just the clutch side. Sounds pretty decent, so we'll kind of set that aside. We'll deal with that after. Clean up all the bar oil. So here's the recoil. Spring still kind of feels springy, but doesn't really give me a warm, fuzzy feeling. Recoil's about half an inch of line, so that's good. Let's get all the oil off of that. There's a little clip in there. Pop that clip off. There's the clip. That doesn't feel good. I have a feeling the spring broke. That'd be my guess. Need another pick. Well, I actually think I'm going to leave that in there. Probably a good thing it didn't come out, and this did. So that's the spring, and it's actually in good shape. Usually if you have a broken spring, you'll get the tail end right here, or the one up, get this out of the way. This end will break off right here. That loops around this way. So this may have just, I don't know. I'm not sure what happened with it. Because usually, I had a little spring lip, but it may have been, I don't know. I have no idea how he did it. He managed it. Maybe the rope came out of being wrapped up on the recoil. So I'm going to leave this as is, because if that comes out and bursts open, we're never going to get it back in there. But ask me how I know, because it's not fun. So we'll hit that with some degreaser. I'll pull the trigger out. And let's see. We'll pull. I mean, the pull cord looks newer. This definitely isn't original. I almost wouldn't be surprised if he tried replacing the pull cord and put it in there and wasn't sure why it wasn't recoiling. You almost kind of have to like kind of preload it and then install it. So I'm just going to clip this little knot off. I'll just cut it with a knife. I'll tie a new one after. This definitely isn't an original rope, so there we go. So pull the handle off, pull the rope out. We'll put that aside and not touch it. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna kind of shoot that with some degreaser. If I have some. All right, and we'll let that soak. Okay. So that's kind of best case scenario, I guess. The other problem you said was may need a carb clean. So it's got the Walbro carb on it, which is the original carb. So that's a good sign. Those are pretty good carbs. These springs are in good shape. Sometimes those will gum up and either stay closed like this, and when you pull it, it won't engage these little tabs. But that looks pretty good. That almost looks like a new coil though. But depending on, I guess, the use, I'm not sure. Let's see. This connector looks kind of new. Either that or it had points and it was upgraded. The guy I got it from didn't look like he would be the one to do the upgrades, so if it was upgraded, it wasn't him. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I These are just homeowner saws, so they probably wouldn't have seen a heavy use, but I've definitely seen worse for usage. You packed all in here with sawdust. Plus it's a little limbing saw, so no one's cutting trees down with this little thing. At least big ones anyway. Well, it may be original. Usually the knockoffs have like some wacky brand from overseas on them, and I don't see that on this. I mean, the boot's clean, everything's nice. I mean, this looks, I don't know. I mean, I'm not like a Stihl like guru on these. Maybe somebody else would know if this is original. This connection here, I almost want to say it's not, because that doesn't look factory. Definitely not. So I'm guessing no. I'll answer that question right now. So, all right. So we'll put a new clip on that after. We'll pull the carb and clean it anyway. And it's dirty in here, so I think the clutch looks good. The fuel line's nice, not gummy or anything. I've never seen one with this kind of like felt piece. Anybody wants to school me on the purpose of that? Maybe kind of like a, I don't know, honestly. I'm not sure what that's for. Well, if you know, let me know. Send me a message, put it in the comments, because I have no idea what that is. Maybe like a baffle, but it seems kind of weird. It's like spongy. So thick felt. But the fact that the fuel line isn't like turned to goo from like varnish in here, which I've seen before where the fuel line just completely deteriorates. That's a good sign. I mean, not a ton of fuel came out of it, so maybe it was stored without fuel, which would be nice. I don't know if that's original. These crimp fuel crimps. I don't think I've ever seen one on a Stihl, but like I said, I mean, I don't do a ton of them. I've done maybe half a dozen, so. And definitely none of these, like the top handle version. So. I'm just gonna pop that off. So I have other ones. There we go. I mean, it's dirty. I'm just surprised at the shape it's in. I'm very happy about this. It's between the pull cord and the cleanliness of it. This is like my best case scenario, I think. I was kind of dreading taking it apart because I've had broken recoils in the past, and trying to source the right one, especially with a lot of different models. You know, they change the designs over, you know, the course of the same model. And a few of the saws. It's kind of hard finding stuff on eBay and stuff, so I didn't really want to have to deal with that. So this makes me happy. Okay. Oh, there's like a little kind of throttle body spacer. Gunky, but not bad. Walbro. So if we gotta get a gasket kit for this, that shouldn't be too bad. Those are pretty common. Let's see how the cylinder looks. So looking into the intake, we'll set this on so you can kind of see. I don't know if you can see in there. So cylinder looks pretty good. I don't see any scoring on it. I'd have to look on the exhaust side as well. Spin around, take the muffler off. A bit of oil. This is a weighty muffler. Like, I'm sure it's irrelevant, but it's definitely heavier than I'm used to. Alright, let's see. I mean, there's some carbon buildup in there. I mean, I can see the cylinder wall from the other side. It looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. The rings look good. I'm really happy with this. So I may take the clutch off. Let's take the clutch off. These are probably reverse thread. So, righty loosey. They make tools to put in here to kind of stop the piston so you can do this. I usually just use a piece of rope. Of course, the piece of rope I have is in my saw bag that's out my shed. So let me go grab another piece of rope. I'll spray a little WD on it while we're going to get our impact here. Let that sit. Okay. we go. Just needed a little gentle persuasion. And I haven't come across one that isn't, but typically the nut on the clutch side is reverse thread, and the nut on the magneto side is regular thread. I mean, this one shows you too, it says off going this way, so should be pretty hard to mess that up. But you can also, if you don't do that, you can see that nut's like built right into the clutch. You can smoke these threads by trying to loosen it. It'll tighten on there and then it'll just rip the threads right off. So that's not good. So we'll take this off. There's a needle bearing behind it. A little plate in there. So that looks pretty good. The needle bearing's pretty dirty, so we'll clean that up and then kind of put some new bearing grease in it. So we'll pull this cover off. Oh, that's just the bottom end. Is it going to give me access to the pump? Yeah, I think so. I just want to make sure that oil pump is kind of free and clear. It's an automatic oiler. You know, it doesn't have the manual button, so I don't want to get the whole thing together and find out it's not oiling the chain. So, and then have to take the whole thing apart again. So, while we're here, we'll take a look. That wasn't even tight. And you can kind of get a look at what the oiler looks like and how that works. Alright. So this is just a plastic cover. So there's a little gear there that when that spins, it spins this. And it has a little bearing in there, and there's your oil pump. So it looks pretty good. There's no chewed up teeth. There's a bunch of garbage in there, so probably good that we took it out. So look at that. Ugh. Gross. So we'll clean all that up. I'll kind of just plug that so we don't get any gunk in there while I spray it all out. So. Looks good otherwise. Very happy with this saw. So I think this could be a good runner. So yeah, there you go. So that's why I look behind door number 1, because it didn't look too bad in here, but that's where all the sawdust went. If I can pull that whole pump out. Just don't want to get any gunk in it when I go to clean it. So, and that's what I'm taking out, this oil pump. come out. Maybe. Oh yeah, there we go. Perfect. Look at that. So it's not too bad. Needs cleaning, but we can take care of that. So we'll kind of pop the lines off, get a good spray through. So, all right. I'm kind of done for the day. It's getting late, so I'm gonna leave this here. I'll do some more investigating on this seal gasket, see if I can find a replacement for it. Worst case, we'll kind of leave it as is. It's not in terrible shape. It wasn't leaking prior to taking it apart, so. Okay, so we got the gasket removed. Of course, the heat fires up. Gasket removed off of the gas tank bar oil reservoirs. So that's cleaned up. We got the carburetor and other parts out of the cleaner. So we'll get our carb kit and we'll do our rebuild here. I got one more screen I just noticed I want to pop out here. It's got a little tiny ring, metal ring. A different pick. It's right in here. It's just like a little circle ring. So we'll see if we can pop that out. The carb kit comes with a new one. Not all of them do. Although not all the carbs have this second screen in here. Most of them come with this larger screen that goes in here, but I've done a few where they don't have this second screen. It's just a tiny little ring. And sufficiently destroy that. Okay. All right. Let's get a carb kit. Things we don't need. We'll start by putting that in before we lose it. Let's stick it back over. Alright. There's our new diaphragm. I don't need that one. Need that. Set that aside. Everything. See a ring in here somewhere. There it is. All right. new needle. So I'll take our new screen, place it in there. I got a little drill bit that'll fit. Just anything around that's pretty much the same size, just kind of seat it in there. And then let's see if we can get this retaining ring in here without destroying it. Try not to put a hole through it. There we go. So all I did was kind of start in one loop to kind of get it under, because there's like a small ridge underneath this seat. And then I push in the other side just so it doesn't go flying. So that looks good. So let's button up this side. So I'll put this in, this seal, this gasket. So it has a little nub on here, lines up with this little guy. It can really only go in one way. So that works out well. What else we got? We got that plate. We want to get our new needle. And I had the spring over here. Oh, there it is. If I can get it out of the tray. Surprisingly, this kit didn't come with a new spring. Usually they do, but put the spring over. And then where's the where are we? There's the little, there's that. Get it. Okay. There. Screws. Just make sure that's springing. And usually you can kind of see, you look inside this little crack here, you can make sure your spring's not off kilter. It may need some adjustment. So it lifts. You want it to be able to lift the needle. So this one, when I probably pulled it out, flattened it out, so it wasn't lifting the needle. So we may need to adjust that a little bit if it's running rich or if it's flooding or something, but we'll check that after. Okay. Get our diaphragm. That way. Seems a little proud actually. Alright, so we'll go to the other side. We'll put this screen in. Get another drill bit about the same size. Okay, let's do this side. Put that guy on there. Okay, pretty simple. So rebuild stuff. Well, actually, let's put the jets in. We got high and low, low and high. So low was a quarter turn. I believe the high was a half turn. And we can fine tune that later if we need to. So, all right, carb's done. So I'm gonna get some carb clean and just clean this out before we put it together. There's a little bit of scaling on the inside of the fuel here that will clean off. I did like a quick clean on it, but nothing like major. So there's some crud in here. Probably didn't, so it kind of sits like, well, like that. So I don't know what that's from. There's some calcium buildup or something. All right, get some carb clean and clean that up. Then we can put the seal over the tank there. Clean that a little bit, and then we can put this back on. The idea is to clean it good enough so you never have to come back in here again. So that's the idea. Certainly don't want to do that. Make sure we put a new fuel filter in there. What was the other one that came out? What did that look like? That's the old one. Kit came with some new ones. Let me see what those look like. Close to the same. Not bad. Okay. So that's that. Remember, I took out that this thing. So if anybody knows what that is, I'll check it out online. But I'm curious to see what its purpose is and. So we got that. We got the new gasket. All right, so this goes like this. All right. So we got 2 short screws, 4 long screws, and then the bar tension or the chain tensioner screws. So let's see if we can find all our screws here. So here's our long ones. Okay, so that covers on. That looks good. That goes in like that. Hard for you to see here. Okay, so that's that. And then the gearing for it we'll clean off. That star not a star, but that spline kind of feeds into the clutch portion. When that spins the pump, and that's your automatic oiler, chain oiler. A lot of them had like a thumb pump where you would just kind of pump a little bit out when you need it. So that's how that works. I forget a cover. I did. I forgot the cover. You're supposed to remind me. That. Alright, so I got 4 short screws for that. You're gonna let me put that on there without putting that cover on. Okay. Clutch. Seat that needle bearing. Put that on. Now we can there we go. Patience. Patience. I'll grab a socket for this in a second. It's gonna go right here. There, so that's that. There. So that kind of leaves the intake side. I got to put a new spade connector on that. We'll do the carb and this guy. We'll clean that up. What else do we got? We got to clean this gasket up. And then we'll kind of get the pull cord situation, recoil fixed. Okay. All right, now we're doing that. Get a piece of shrink. These are nice kits. Not a huge tool fan from Harbor Freight, although I hear they're getting better. But they have like connector kits and different like miscellaneous, you know, spring clips and stuff like that, like boxes of assorted ones. I picked this one up with different sizes of heat shrink, so these are handy. And this was the problem with the other one, it was just crimped. So, I mean, the crimp is fine, but you can't really rely on it solely. So that's good. That'll hold much better than this garbage. You know, those crimp pretty good, but obviously it's not going to hold well. And it's going to give you issues. So before I forget, let's sock down the nut on the clutch. This is righty loosey, lefty tighty. We use this gasket. If I got issues with it later, I'll remake a new one, but for now, we'll reuse it. That's it. There's a throttle. I almost think they extended this wire. This was probably the original one, and they probably extended it because, I mean, this seems like a lot of wire. So we'll try to kind of tuck it underneath the coil so I don't have any issues. I'm going to run it like this with the line down, and there's like a channel through here that to run the spark plug through. So. Just gonna leave them loose so we can adjust it. All right, what's next? Let's get the recoil fixed. I think we're good on that side. So the problem with this recoil, customer or the previous owner said, oh, I went to pull it for the year and the line wouldn't go back in. Well, that didn't really make any sense after I opened it up, because the line was all out and there was no reason why it would have come out all out. And this is a newer line. So I wonder if he broke it. Doesn't really have much wear on it. So I wonder if he broke the original line, went to put a new one in, and couldn't get it set up right to, you know, recoil correctly. So what you want it to do is this opening needs to line up with this. So when you, let's do this. So when you pull it, you're pulling it out, and then this snaps it back in. So let's put this clip on. Just a little bit of insurance. Okay. You can actually put it in that, and that's probably what it's for. Put it in that little slot so that I'm not like rubbing it against these fins to preload it. May take a couple of times. You want to be careful with these springs because they're hard to come by online if you got to buy new ones. So I'd almost rather, you can kind of feel the tension on the spring, so I'd almost rather err on the side of caution and try it and see how far in it recoils. If I got to do it a couple times, fine. Rather than like really spin it home and then snap the spring. This is probably an original spring. This is feeling pretty tight. I'm gonna go back around to here. So that's pretty good. So get the handle. Just pull a little bit out. And then tie your knot. Get it pretty close to the end there. Nice and tight. There. So then you have a nice working pull start. And if you get too much, you can clip that. We'll clip a little bit of it, and then we'll, this outer jacket I think is nylon, so actually go out a little bit. And this is just so it doesn't fray on me. You can use like a lighter or something. I just have this right here handy. Okay. So with this, you may have to kind of pull it to get it to line up on there. Although I think we got it lined up pretty good. And the carb sits in this opening. I'm gonna make sure that's lined up. We'll put that back in. Okay, little update on the saw. Obviously, we're back apart here. Yesterday, I ran out of two-stroke oil, so I had to get some two-stroke oil today. So we got that. Filled up the jug and put some gas in here and went to fire it up, and I got nothing. So check spark, no spark. So I figured, all right, let's pull it apart. This stop switch, whether it was on or off, didn't make a difference. So pull it apart. With this wire connected to the coil, which is what grounds it out when you want to shut it off, I had no spark. Disconnected, I had good spark. So that's kind of where we're at. So I'm guessing even with the switch off, it's still grounding out somewhere. So somewhere between here and there, that line is bad. And you can, if you don't have, I mean, you can kind of check this ahead of time, but if you don't have a spark, but if you don't have a spark checker, you can always check continuity with this ground wire. So the wire should only run from here up to that stop switch or wherever it's grounding out. But as you can see, it's everywhere. So this wire is grounded out somewhere between the little wire up here and here. So somewhere in the case, it's grounded out, which is not good. So that's why we have no spark. So I think I'm gonna have to take off the flywheel, because that wire runs underneath here up to there in the case. So that's a little inconvenient. A worst case scenario, we can run a secondary wire possibly up to here and do like a toggle or something like that. I really don't want to do that. If I can pull a new line through there, I'll do that. Let's see if we can get this flywheel off. There we go. Hopefully this comes off. I don't have to pull out a puller, but it doesn't seem likely. Not sure what that was. All right. Thicker portion. There we go. There we are. All right. That's good. Hopefully it just runs under this cover. Pop that boot off. So really all this ground wire to the coil needs to be is grounded or not grounded. So we don't need it going through the old point system. And that was the problem. It was hooked to here, which is touching here, which is grounding out, and that's no good. So let's remove that. We will kind of straight splice that wire through. We'll put this in just to kind of hold it down. Just in case we need that. As we get some solder on that, that connection will be a lot better. So that should be all set. And we can tone that out, just double check it. I mean, we can see it. I can kind of tell that it's not going to be touching, but. All right. See, now we're not getting any. It should only be continuity between it and this little pin. So that's what we want. So we'll put that coil back around like that. We'll just put that in place just so it keeps that ground wire out of the harm's way so it doesn't get hit, because that would be our luck. All right. There we go. Get our washer and our nut. So the flywheel side is righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Clutch side is the opposite. All right, now for the coil. We can see together if we fixed it. So it goes in there. And should have a light in there. Let me shut off this light. See if we can see it a little better. So this is without that wire attached. So we're getting spark. Now we should still be getting spark, and we got fuel coming out, so that's good. As long as we don't light anything on fire. All right, so we should still have spark. So, and we do. All right. All right, let's put this back together. I'll get the whole case together, and we'll come back and see if we can fire this thing up. All right, so we got the bar on, chain on, all put back together. Let's see how we do here. Runs good. So we'll sharpen the blade or the chain, and that'll be it. But runs good, sounds good. Did have to go through the carb a little bit before, because it was running real high. But I got the braking a little bit here. We're gonna run good. So we did end up putting some Moto Seal, Permatex sealer on the gasket for the gas tank and the oil, because it was leaking out just with the regular seal. So, but that took care of that. But otherwise, she's all set. Back from the dead. On to the next one.